thanks for showing up. It's day 2 of the Rev teardown. Got to take it apart before you can build it up, right? So I've got to get the motor out today, but before I can do that, I got to remove the inner clutch sheave. If you don't, you can't get the bolt out that holds the motor mount on. I'm going to do that, but I can't find my clutch puller. I think I have 2 of them here somewhere. Keely has one, I have one, but who knows where they are. We're not big on the maintenance and the upkeep of this place right now because it's sled season and we don't have time to clean. So I'm going to show you how to do it with water. It's pretty handy. It's very slick. It works a little better than a puller sometimes, I find. So we're going to show you how to do that today as well. So let's get to it. I'll only have a few hours to get this apart so I can see what it needs and then start ordering more parts. All you need is your Teflon tape, your clutch bolt, some water, of course your ratchet gun. Let's get her done. Okay, the first thing you do, you got to put Teflon tape on your clutch bolt. But you got to put quite a bit on here because you want to make sure there's a good tight seal. Pour the water inside the clutch here. You're going to see it fill up. Don't worry, it's not going to go in your motor. Make sure you're wearing your safety glasses. Thread your bolt in. There we go. But through the magic of television, it looked like I did it on the first try, but I really didn't. It took me about 4 tries because I didn't put enough Teflon tape on it. Really pack the tape around that bolt and that'll work for you. So before I go any further, I got to get the coolant out of here before I can really pull the motor out. So I'm going to get this old antifreeze out. And I'm going to be running the Evans waterless coolant from the 700 because you know what? It's reusable, 100% recyclable, doesn't break down. Probably one of the coolest things about it, since there's no water in it, there's no expansion. There's no pressure that builds up in the system, so when the sled is hot, you can just pop the rad cap off. It doesn't blow all over the place. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to be running that in this sled because I like it. And a pretty good example of why it's a good idea to run something that has no pressure in the system is because if you look at my buddy Mark's sled when he blows the motor, it's because the clamp came a little loose, pressure in the system, popped the hose off, blew out all his antifreeze in a heartbeat on the trail, and that's going to cost him over $1,000 to fix. No pressure in the system is a good thing. We might have seen that a little earlier. Maybe he would have smelled the fluid a little earlier. Maybe there wouldn't have been as much engine damage. All these what ifs. One thing I know is no pressure is a good thing. I get a lot of guys asking me questions online about issues with their carbs. They can't get fuel. So I tell them you got to clean your carbs. You got to blow them out with compressed air. You got to soak them first. You need to put new pilot jets and main jets in there to start. Don't neglect your fuel pump. If it's been on your sled for 10 years, 15 years, chances are pretty good it needs a rebuild or you need a new one. And especially, you got to make sure these pickup lines, these pickup tubes here, they're not cracking, they haven't split. A lot of times, they'll split right around where the tank is, and you don't know. They're just sucking a little bit of air. It's driving you crazy. You're trying to figure out what's going on. You're rebuilding carbs, but that's your problem right there. I can see that these fuel lines are all cracked. I need to replace all those. I need to get a new grommet. I also need a new grommet where the vent comes out. This pickup looks good. That's one of their better quality fuel pickup hoses that I've seen. So I'll end up keeping that. When you're going through doing all this, I suggest you keep a pad of paper there. Write down all the things you need because if you tear this apart, at the end of the day, you're going to forget some parts, and when you're trying to put everything back together, you know what, you're going to have to order a new grommet, maybe a new fuel line. Just make sure, just take it, write it down on a piece of paper, order your parts, they're there in a couple days. This is your MPEM. This is the computer for the sled. It's more or less the brain. It sets your timing up, RER, your reverse. Now this one is set up for the 800. So I'm going to send this off to Scooter Racing. They're going to basically reprogram it. I'm going to get them to remap this or recurve it for the 700. This is the heater for your carbs. It's got a little red knob on it here. That's basically carb heat, like what we have in our aircraft. On those really cold days, you have air passing through there really quickly. It's a bit of a Venturi effect. It's going to start to possibly freeze up, might stick open, and just doesn't perform the way you want. So on a real cold day, I think in the manual it says something below -15. You want to open that up, make sure you have some heat flowing through your carbs. It's just basically coolant that runs through there because it's all warmed up. Now all these fuel lines I'm going to replace. They just don't look good. They are old. I'm going to be ditching this oil injection system. I don't like it. On my mod sleds, it weighs too much. And on these older sleds, I don't trust the injection system anymore. So they're going to be coming off. But I have to keep this bottle because I'm going to carve it out. It holds the MPEM and a couple other little trinkets on here, so I have to make sure that I just keep it. I'm going to empty it out and carve it up the way I want. I've been looking for this puller for about 3 weeks. I just found it. There's another one in here somewhere. And honestly, it was just sitting on the bench just like that. I can't believe it. We tore this place upside down looking for that puller. Isn't that the way it goes? At least I found it. Kind of like that water pulling method. The only downside to the whole thing is that you have to turn the sled on its side or the motor on its side. That's not so fun. But the good thing about it is you could be just about anywhere and do that. Even on the side of the trail, really. That's a brace for the motor to keep the clutches from coming together. Now that's seized up. Most of these get seized. All I'm going to do is just heat that up. I'll be able to turn that out, no problem. I noticed when I got this motor, if you can see that or not, but those mounts are really worn out. Those are probably original. That motor moves way too much. So I'm going to be using the mounts off a stock 440 race sled. And that will give me a nice solid mount because they take a lot of abuse. Motor mounts on the right side are way inside here. You just poke your way in and find them. Now watch when you're pulling your socket out that you don't catch it on there. Finish taking off these hoses. Now some of these hoses I'm going to replace. They've seen a lot of heat cycles, a lot of expansion, and I just don't trust them. I don't want to build up my sled and have it blow up on me because of something silly. Got my box out, my tubes are done. Stator wires, pickup wires disconnected. Coolant hose. I got to pull out these reed valves. It's going to make it easier to slip by. Now this is the boot that came off it. One of these screws is missing. So obviously you're going to get a lean mixture in there. And that PTO side is going to score up. You're going to seize it. Something's going to happen. The other thing is, look at this. Look at that. So that's what happens to your sled after a few years. You always got to replace these. You can't silicone that up. It's not going to work for you. Here's the other side. Same thing. I'll guarantee you the reason this one's down on compression is because of that lean mixture that's been going through there. Luckily, we caught that in time. Hopefully, this motor's not toast. I wonder what that crank is like. This can't be the original motor. Now, I'm hoping this is going to be a good motor because I have something pretty cool in store for you. I'm not going to tell you what it is because Keely might be watching this. I don't want him to see what I'm going to do because I want to beat him. When I'm done with this one, it's going to happen. Now to slip it out past this brace, you can't really see very well. You've got to just get this Y pipe out. And to do that, it's easiest if you can just pop those motor mounts out, pop the motor up a little bit, and loosen things off. But it's a tight fit, I'm telling you. You could probably pop this bracket off, and I'm going to end up doing that anyway and just lift it right out through the top. I want to try it like this first. Look at that, crack in the Y pipe. Go figure. Cracked all the way around. Ooh, nice. Look at that. As usual, a mouse nest. Why does every sled I buy have a mouse nest in it? I think I know why. I think I know why. Now these fuel pumps do have a lifespan. They just don't last forever. This one has seen a lot of use. There's no rebuild kit that I can find for this one, but I'm just going to use the brand new one that I put in my 700. It's the same pump. Voltage regulator. Be good to this. I'm going to remove this rear suspension now. Quite often these bolts are kind of seized in here, but you know what? If we can just work them one way or the other, keep doing that a little bit, then they'll come out pretty quickly. Now I'm just going to do the other side. Now I know that this one's coming out quite easily. Same goes for these front bolts, just work them back and forth. My camera died, so you missed all the fun pulling this track and suspension out. There are a few things I need to do this to fit the new chain case in from my ZX. This 2003 model had a different type of chain case on it. The 2004s to 2007s, the chain case will fit no problem. So I need to take out this whole bracket here. I'm going to remove this foot brace here just to give me more room so I can come up a little more forward on the sled. And once I get all this out, I got to pound out all the dents in here. It's going to get loud. So I've pulled off this whole bracket. When the new chain case goes in with this new reinforcement, it's going to be lowered here a little bit. No idea why they set it up that way, but anyway, it'll fit the ZX chassis chain case, which was good from 2004 to 2007. Now I have to straighten this tunnel. This is going to be fun. There's a pretty good kink in this right here. When that happened, it buckled all this. Sort of just pushed in the front a little bit, but you know what? The nun is solid. There's no bends in the nun, and that's a good thing. So we're just going to sort of pound here a little bit, pound there a little bit, pound there a little bit, and just keep working our way around until this gets more or less flattened. And I bought some reinforcements from a guy on Kijiji, which is like Craigslist in the States. I can put them on this side and one on the other side. That'll firm everything up really well for me. All right, so that wraps up just about everything I wanted to do today. We've got the motor out, the track's out, suspension's out, the drivetrain's out. I've started to straighten out this tunnel here. It's coming along pretty well. Now all we have to do is take out the cooler. I'm going to measure up the tunnel tomorrow so I can get a tunnel extension made and put that Van Amberg tunnel cooler in there. But that's just about all I can do today. So make sure you come back tomorrow. Give me a big old thumbs up if you like my videos. And don't forget to subscribe and check me out on Facebook. Thanks for watching.